Welcome to the Boomers Bucks and Bling podcast, where we turn retirement planning into a bit of a thrill ride. I'm your host, Carl Spiteri, and each week we'll dive into everything from reverse mortgages and staying put in style to Medicare, Social Security, and home safety. But wait, there's more. We're not just going to talk all about money and business. We're going to add some sparkle, some bling, as we chat with travel pros, party planners, and a lot of different topics that's going to help you make the most of your golden years. So grab a cup of tea or whatever it is you want to drink, get comfy, and let's make retirement planning an adventure of a lifetime. Welcome to this edition of Boomers, Bucks, and Bling. Today, we're honored to have Travis Catania with Business Succession Pros on with us. Travis is a friend of mine and someone who's very knowledgeable on business succession. Travis, why don't you tell us kind of a little bit about yourself and why you're such a badass in your business?
Well, Business Succession Pros was birthed in 2016 after about 2 decades in the financial services industry. I decided that I wanted to sit on the same side of the table as a business owner, helping them come up with succession and exit strategies that brought clarity and peace of mind as they enter that next season of life.
So what do you do?
Yeah. So
what do you do? I mean, business succession pro. I assume you're a pro.
Yeah.
And you deal in business, but what's succession all about?
Yeah. So succession is better named than exit. Exit very terminal. So succession planning is all encompassing of this idea that everybody's going to leave their business at some point. And so exiting your business is like the time value of money. You know, the longer you wait to do it, the less options that are available to you and the more costly it is. The more time that you give in thought and getting clarity around what type of exiting owner you are from a financial and mental standpoint, where your business stands as far as attractiveness and readiness, all plays into how you are going to steward that business and make the best ROI as you enter that next season of life.
So I have a business and I don't know, I've been doing it for 20 years, 25 years, whatever. And kind of entering that season of my life where maybe I want to do it longer, maybe I don't. So how do I determine if there's any value there?
Yeah, there's a number of ways.
It's my baby. I've been dealing with it for all these years. It's got to be worth a fortune, right?
Well, there's a lot of noise about and a lot of natural tendency to value our business on those irrational factors of, hey, I've put X amount of dollars into it over the years. I haven't taken a salary in 10 years. I've been running it for 35 years. My dad ran it before I did. He put a bunch of money into it. None of those things are relevant valuation factors unless they produce a profit. So the two levers that really affect your valuation are going to be on fair market valuation are going to be what tangible assets, revenue and profit, and then what intangible assets are there to predictably create that profit in people, processes, systems, perspective.
Okay, so tell me, I got a business. So give me an example of why, how do you value give me an example. I think that would be better for our listeners.
Sure. So like, let's say you have a business that's doing $1 million a year in gross revenue. It has, let's just say you have a 20% profit. So you got $200,000 going to the bottom line. That would be your tangible capital. The intangible capital, where the multiplier is applied to, like when people say, "Oh yeah, my business has a range of value on a multiple of 1 to 4." Well, that 1 to 4 is a risk analysis based upon how transferable your business is with your people, your customers, your structural, your social capital. So
so let me stop you there for a second. So you say 1 to 4. So if my business is, if my client base could care less whether I'm here or not, my employees could care less whether I'm here or not, and I got a widget that's wanted, my multiple would be higher or lower?
Yeah. So if someone in that scenario, I would imagine anybody could step in and run the business and get a higher ROI, right? They're not
Return of
having to come
investment,
in and
yeah.
actually do the work. They're coming in and just managing the assets. And so because of that, there people are willing to pay a higher ROI because the payoff is a lot quicker.
Because the
And so
multiple in that scenario would be what?
would be on the higher range, and each industry has its own range of multiples. Like construction and remodeling is somewhere between like 0.5 and 4.
Between 5 and 4 multiple.
Premium in the construction business is, I would say, 5 plus. And
Okay.
so you would have to have a really solid backlog and systems and processes and a marketing, and where the owner of that business is only leading and guiding, not doing either the sales, the marketing, the construction, all the operational things. They have a team doing that. That would have get on the higher end of that multiple with a premium. Now, one big misconception about multiples, it's not just about what your profit is and how well your systems and processes are, also size. So in this scenario, size does make a difference. And so if your business is 1 million versus someone who has 10 million, the size will generate a a bigger premium because there's more to work with.
So if I'm thinking about selling my business and I'm a very hands-on owner, and I'm thinking, well, I'm kind of semi-retired now. I think in 5 years I want to be done, or whatever. I want to start maybe phasing my daily operational
Mhm.
input out of the business and allow other people to do kind of what I did at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. So you want to take it, and it also depends on who's your buyer. Like it's legitimate to have another buyer be just like you. If there's a if you run a
Okay.
little business, and let's just say you run a little landscaping business, and you're the top sales guy, you're also the general manager, and you're the owner, right? And then every once in a while, if the crews get really busy, you can be seen out there doing some irrigation, right?
Mhm.
um you could take that and say, hey, I want to grow the value of the business and the enterprise value, and I'm going to do these things, so I'm out of all of that and I'll transfer that, right? Or you could
Right.
just as easily say, you know what, I don't want to go through that heartache, I don't have that stamina, I just want to sell the business, I'm going to find someone just like me that really wants
Okay.
to buy a job. How much is he
There you go.
going to pay to buy a job? But you will get a higher payoff if you can double your crews, hire a general manager, get out of all of that, and then sell it to somebody who then can look at it as an investor, not as a doer. So there's two major things when you look at return in a valuation: is return on owner's labor, and then return on what the owner owns. So what he does for a living or she does for a living versus what the return on the investment for what that business machine produces.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. That makes sense. Thanks for breaking that down for me.
Yeah.
So is there any kind of pre-sale planning you would do if say I tell you I want to sell my business in 3 years, and
Mhm.
what what should I do? And let's just take a widget manufacturer, right?
Yeah. So if you're looking to sell, every business owner should go through at least a 90-day clarity process where they just look at the components of their financial readiness, their mental readiness, and their business goals and readiness to go to market.
So who should they be talking to figure that out?
So initially, they need to engage someone like myself, who's an exit planner, who knows how to gather the resources, the team, and ask the right questions. There's a difference between planning your exit and preparing to go to market, and that's oftentimes confusing. So preparing to go to market is really that 9 month period that you're working with the broker and you're getting your business ready to go to due diligence. planning your exit is that 3 to 5 year period that you're taking a step back and you're bringing in a team of trusted advisors, tax, legal, financial, valuation, insurance, real estate, to say, okay, here's everything. How do I want to maximize it all? And potentially, if you have 3 to 5 years, you're also looking to do some operational improvements, maybe create a management succession team. So that all just takes time. But even if
So you're
you,
talking with a financial advisor, you're
Mhm.
talking with an insurance person, you're talking to a person such as yourself,
Right,
possibly a realtor or a business broker,
right,
maybe a mortgage planner such as myself,
yep,
a tax planner, of course, a CPA,
yeah,
somebody who understands taxes and implications there. So that's kind of your team that they're putting together. Your help, if they engage you, you're helping them put together. But those are all the pieces to that puzzle that they should be speaking with.
yeah, yeah. It takes a tribe and an exit planning team, and my role is typically to quarterback it and to organize it and say, okay, quarter by quarter, these are the objectives that we are going to work on, and we prioritize them just like any other kind of business plan. An exit plan is a strategy inside your overall business plan that just merges, as we talked about before, Carl. Our personal lives and our business lives, there's a very fine line. And so the more that we connect them and braid them instead of being just like a mess, the better it is.
All right, so we got all these people together. We determined that the value of the business is $5 million. Well, I would assume your average business owner doesn't have $500 in their wallet that they're willing to just give you and take the business. So can we finance it?
Well, there's multiple ways to finance it. Yeah. So there's generally there's bank equity, or I'm sorry, bank financing, or there's private equity. And private equity comes in two forms of either a financial buyer private equity, or the seller can personally finance the business and create different types of installment sales. And depending on the financial readiness of the owner, that will dictate what type of structure that you put in play. So if an owner is financially ready and they have a lot of resources outside the business, they're much more willing and able to say, okay, I will finance this at a reasonable rate, and you can pay me over time, for two reasons. One, they don't need the money, and two, they don't want to pay a bunch of taxes on a lump sum of $5 million, right?
So that's important, right? So the tax, neither one of us are tax professionals, but if they bring in the 5 million in one lump sum, they're paying taxes on that 5 million. And if they're bringing it in installments over 5 years or 10 years, they're only paying taxes when they receive it. Would that be a correct statement? Again,
Yeah,
not giving tax advice, but
right. And then the business can cash flow it, and that's really, it's one of the most rewarding ways to do it, because people who have worked with you for a long time are now taking on the business, and there's no new buyer, cultural realignment. The customers know the same people. It's really great. It's just the hardest and riskiest transaction
so
for
why
the
is it risky? What's the negatives?
the negatives are a lot of times the people that the management team that you're selling to, they don't have any money. So they're not coming in with skin in the game. It's all being financed through the business. And so you have to be really sure, I'm going through a transaction right now, and it's a management succession transaction, but the owner hasn't been in the business for over 5 years. So they're ready. Like, that team knows the numbers better than the owner, knows the customers, knows the strategy. They've built their own 5 year strategy. It's not built around the owner. So they are ready. But a lot of times, um, this strategy is used as like a last ditch effort. And the reality is that these key employees aren't ready to take the reins. And so it becomes a very risky investment for the seller. And so I will tell you this: if you measure it, and this is what this one transaction that I'm in now did, they actually went to the bank. The bank wouldn't finance it originally 5 years ago. And so if a bank won't finance it, I think that's a cue to an owner. Maybe I shouldn't finance it, because banks are really good at underwriting risk.
Yeah.
So if a bank's not going to finance it for all the reasons, maybe we shouldn't be financing it, and we have far less money.
Yeah, yeah. So what would so if you go to the bank, when you say go to the bank, usually that involves the Small Business Administration, I would assume.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how tough are they to work with, and how does that kind of process work?
Well, they aren't super tough to work with. They just have, requirements on, how they calculate the value of the business based upon cash flow and add backs and what they will accept as add backs. When you have seller financing or private equity financing, the add backs are a little more liberal. The add backs, personal expense add backs with the SBA are a lot more red tape. So that will reduce the cash flow, which ultimately reduces their value conclusion. So that could play a considerable role in what you think the business is worth, what a buyer is willing to pay, and what the bank is saying they're willing to finance. And if those two things don't align, just like in real estate loan mortgage origination, someone either has to come out of pocket or you got to redo the deal.
So there could be a possibility of both private investment and bank investment.
Yeah, and so like, let's just say the bank will only lend 4.5, but you guys have agreed on a $500,000. There is a world in which you get the loan for $4.5 million and the seller carries the other 500,000, but it will always be subordinate to the SBA.
Right, right.
So
Meaning that there's a first trust deed on that business,
yeah.
any real estate assets, whatever, that if there's a foreclosure happening, they're going to take it. If you want, in the second position, want to keep it, you have to make the first whole.
And I'm not an SBA business loan expert, but what I know from experience is traditionally SBA has not allowed for owners to stay on past six months. And if you wanted to do like a partial buyout, you couldn't use an SBA loan, but now you can. So now there are SBA loans out there where an owner can actually keep skin in the game. Or the seller can keep skin in the game, and stay on. They've added those benefits to their financing products.
So what do you think? What do you think the benefits are? And this is kind of out of our conversation. If you don't want to answer it, you don't have to. But what do you think the benefits are of buying a business that's successful, that you're paying a multiple on, right? Versus, yeah, I can do that. I can make widgets. I'm just going to go start my own deal. I mean, we're talking about retirement, right? We shouldn't be talking about what the benefits to the buyer, but I'm kind of curious.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say, it would depend upon a couple of things. If you have the ability and the stamina and the grit and the vision to do it yourself, and you have a strong conviction that your way is just a better way, then I would say that might indicate you might not be very happy buying somebody else's work. Like then go do that. But a reasonable person would probably say a better return on my investment is to buy a business that's boring, that has consistent cash flow, that I can then take and I can grow on it. I can take my skills and make it better or make it different. But that critical mass getting from startup to consistent, and profitable and sellable is much steeper climb than a lot of, I think, us realize.
So for those of you sellers listening to this, this is what you're selling this is part of what you're selling in addition to your business, is that vision of the upward mobility of how much easier it is to buy your business and start their own, essentially.
Right. Yes. And so you kind of, what you're paying for is what a buyer is paying for is the tuition that founder paid for, what we call the blunder stage. You're blundering through it and you finally get to a point where now you're thundering. Someone's buying the thunder. And we want to reach and sell at the thunder stage before we crest and asunder.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Every
That makes a
business
lot
goes
of
through
sense.
that cycle. Every
business.
And right now we're seeing it in real time. A lot of small businesses with consumer confidence and interest rates and tariffs and supply chain, a business that was humming 2 years ago out of COVID is now having the COVID correction, and they went from doing 2 million a year in gross revenue to $7 million in gross revenue, and now they're back to 2 million.
Unfortunately, for a lot of them, they're spending at that $7 million level still.
And their operations are all scaled to 7 million. Their salaries are at 7 million. And they're like, what do I can't sell it, and I can't afford to keep it like this.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the exit planning that I'm personally doing, that's a little bit of a side of this, is a little bit of management consulting, saying, how do we right size this so we can get it ready and realign our expectations on, you're not selling at 7 million in gross revenue. You're going to sell based upon a 3.5 to 4.
Yeah.
And right sizing and realigning and getting clear on that.
Well, Travis, you convinced me that if I ever decide to sell a business, I need you.
Yeah.
Hopefully some of the listeners here on this podcast are thinking the same thing. How do they get a hold of you if they'd like to?
Yeah, the best way to get a hold of me is either through, you can look me up on LinkedIn. I'm fairly active there, or you can go to our website, www.businesssuccessionpros.com, all spelled out. There's a lot of S's, but businesssuccessionpros.com.
Well, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And again, reach out, listen. If you guys like the podcast, please let the world know. And thank you very much. Have a good day. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Boomers, Bucks, and Bling. We hope we've managed to mix a little enlightenment along with fun. If you enjoyed our conversation, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss out. And if you got a moment, drop us a review. It helps spread the word and keeps us motivated to continue. Got burning questions? Hot topics you want us to dive into? Let us know on our website or social media. Until next time, Carl Spiteri here to remind you to tackle retirement with a big smile and a whole lot of energy.